Now, this is exciting as Patrik Allvin spoke in a recent interview revealing a lot about the Vancouver Canucks' future and one key player in particular. And this is exactly what fans want to hear. But not only that, the Canucks also make multiple moves by bringing back key players to the roster. We're going to break down all of Allvin's comments on Filip Chytil and the plans going into next season. And we're going to touch on the two signings the Vancouver Canucks made. And this is the perfect signings for Abbotsford. We're going to break down all this and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you haven't hit the sub button yet, we're trying to reach our goal of 8,000 subscribers. So make sure to go down, hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. It helps us out a ton. And in return, we'll give you updates from signings, rumors, reports, trades, anything you can think of, you can find right here on Canucks Digest. But with that, let's just hop straight into the first topic. And before we get into Allvin's comments, the Canucks did make multiple moves today when we seen them make multiple signings. Now, the first signing we seen was Filip signed on a 2-year, two-way contract. Now, Filip was a huge part of the Abbotsford Canucks this season. We've seen Chytil really take the bright spot in the crease, but Filip had a very successful season with the team, and Patrik Allvin spoke on it and said Nikita had a very good year and development in Abbotsford. He worked hard on his game. He took the steps towards being a better pro. We will continue to work with him to provide the best path forward for both the player and the organization. Now, before we get into the numbers of all this, we can look at Filip's numbers. 9-13 in one playoff game this year, but previous to that, during the regular season, going 20-14-2 with a 902 save percentage, joining this Canucks team as a undrafted player. Filip is carving a very good name for himself. In the AHL, he's 6'6", an absolute behemoth, still quite young, so there is a lot to like about this guy. Get him on a 2-year deal. You secure a possible starter or a very good backup for Abbotsford during this stretch. What Patrik Allvin is doing with the goaltenders right now, Chytil being signed till next year, Filip getting a 2-year extension, Demko getting an extension, same with Kevin Lankinen. It's very tidy work on the goaltenders. We see the defense building out, and that goes straight into the second player, where we do see Jett Woo signed to a 1-year extension, two-way contract. Allvin once again spoke on Jett Woo, saying Jett was a key member of our playoff run in Abbotsford. Logging those minutes in the playoffs should help him become a better player and leader moving forward. It's an experience he can build on this fall to start next season. Now we know with Jett Woo, drafted in the second round, 37th overall, or 47th overall. I should say, no, it was 37th. What am I saying right now? It's late. But with Jett Woo, coming off 18 points last season, the year previous 31 points, he seems like he regressed a tiny bit, but really stepping up in the playoffs. The second round pick, 24 years old, has yet to make the Vancouver Canucks, but I do believe Jett Woo is getting into the perfect situation on a prove itself contract. Signed to a 1-year deal. Patrik Allvin is putting the ball in his court. If he can play well, yes, the Canucks back end is very crowded, but Jett Woo could find himself getting some NHL games if an injury happens, which no one wants to see. But seeing Jett Woo continue to develop, seeing him trying to take a step in the right direction, Allvin is slowly rewarding these Abbotsford players. We've seen Archie Baines, we've seen Linus Karlsson's name, Atu Ratu, all set to at least join this Canucks roster this season or next year. It does seem like Abbotsford is really building a very big winning culture, winning the Calder, but also a very good development group with these young players coming up. But what is your guys' thoughts on this? Both guys were signed to $775K contracts, both 2-year deals, two-way deals. Filip coming on 2 years, Jett Woo on 1. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think Allvin is doing very tidy work with his AHL signings? We've seen multiple happen on July 1st. We've seen the extensions. He hasn't made a big splash with a trade or a big name free agent, but he's doing very good in bringing in these depth pieces or keeping pieces on this roster. What are your guys' thoughts on those? Go ahead and leave a comment down below on Jett Woo, Filip, but we're going to start and go right into the next topic where everyone probably clicked on for, where we did get a quote from Patrik Allvin speaking on Filip Chytil. Chytil's still young. He missed some games. I think he has intangibles to play higher up in the lineup. Definitely the skill set to do so. I think if I got it right, I believe he had a year where he had 60 points. And I think if you go by that, I think that's probably in line with some of the other second line centers around the league. Now, Patrik Allvin does go into speak on a lot more, and we're going to touch on this very soon. But when looking at Filip Chytil's game, there is a lot to like Now, looking up on the upside of Chytil, 25 years old, a former 21st overall pick in 2017, Chytil has had some very successful seasons, win with the Rangers, 22 goals, 23 assists for 45 points with the Rangers just in 22-23, going into playoffs, putting up 4 points in 7 games. But the biggest issue with Chytil, and everyone knows this, I'm not going to preach to the choir, is that he has had some injury concerns. We've seen him go down with an injury after joining the Canucks last year, having a good stint with the Canucks, joining the team. Filip Chytil has what it takes to be a second line center in this league. He still has room to develop. He just needs to consistency stay healthy. 6 points in 15 games and a -11, but let's not look at plus minus. With the Canucks stinking last year, let's be honest. But a 22 goal season under his belt, 14 just in his third year in the NHL. You see the 23-point season. Chytil has what it takes to put up 40 or 50 points within this organization. Very good at driving the line. Very good at controlling entries, going into the zone. We've seen in the intro video, we know Chytil can do it. It just is a matter of staying healthy within this organization. Now, the big thing is Patrik Allvin has made it very clear that in this, that he's still very young. He has the tools. He has missed some times, but he does line up like a second line center to a lot of teams in the league. But it continues on with Filip Chytil, where we see another quote from Patrik Allvin, where he says, if you're striving to get better, and if you can find something that fits the criteria of a second line center, I think you might have the best top 3 centers in the league if you have Filip Chytil on your third line. Now, Patrik Allvin has made it very clear. We've seen a recent interview with Adam Foote. They are fine with going into the season with Pettersson and Chytil as their 2 centers going down the middle, but they're really looking at that second line center thing. And listen, Canucks fans, we know right now we are not happy that they have not made a trade to go out and get a second line center. But when looking around the National Hockey League, every other team is doing exactly that. We see multiple teams looking for centers. We see a lot of teams specifically looking for that second line center. Getting into a bidding war is not what you want. So Patrik Allvin and Jim Rutherford, who really like to make trades into training camps, as I've said before, we've seen with Casey Smith, we've seen lingering into the season when they got Nikita Zadorov and Lindholm going into a playoff run. These are 2 general managers, or president and general manager, that like to hold off on this. So I do expect a trade to come. I mean, right now with Allvin saying looking at a top 6 with PD and a new center with Chytil III, you can build a very good team, and that goes straight into the lines. Right now, looking at this group, it does fill out pretty nice, but you still need that center. We've seen the rumors flying around of Dakota Joshua and Teddy Bluger. Aatu Räty is ready to step up, but a center core of Elias Pettersson, someone else, Filip Chytil, and Aatu Räty is a very good core that you can build around. You have the wingers around him, Niels Höglander and Boeser, who worked very good with PD last season. Jake DeBrusk, Conor Garland with a new center, Evander Kane, Filip Chytil, and Kiefer Sherwood. You give him enforcers that can score goals. They've both scored almost 20, Kiefer Sherwood with 19 last year. But this is a team that is going into the position where they're just one forward piece away, in my opinion. I'm not a general manager, but they are one forward piece away from having a legitimate contender. Yes, you need a couple players to step up. Elias Pettersson needs to step up. We know Brock Boeser can score 30 to 40 goals if everything goes right. And I hate saying if everything goes right. If everything pans out how it should, this is a Canucks team that has the capabilities to go on a deep run. I know I feel like the not in the majority on this statement, but I do think this Canucks team is building something good, bringing back key players, keeping the vibes high, and still actively looking to make this roster better. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on the Vancouver Canucks and their offseason so far? Yes, the center is something you need to fill, but I do expect something to happen, and Filip Chytil to be the third-line center going into the playoffs next year when the Canucks do make it back. Go ahead and leave a comment on all this down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and take care.